Today, we're talking about the fastest path to promote from setter to closer. Now, most people want to rush this. Trust me, I know because I've been there myself. Not many people talk about, though, what it actually takes to do it. So I'm going to get crystal clear today on what you need to do if you're looking to accelerate your career to go from appointment setter to closer as quickly as possible. Because I work with women all over the world and their main question is, how do I become a closer ASAP? Some of them become a closer from the get-go, some of them start as appointment setters, and there's a reason for this. Everyone comes with different skill sets, different communication abilities, so on and so forth. So first things first, I would honestly say is getting crystal clear on which one you should be first. However, if you've taken the appointment setting route and now you're ready to promote because you feel like you want a new change, a new challenge, and you feel stagnant, then I'm here to help. So, step one, we want to get clear on your career progression where you are. Before you do anything else, you need clarity. The first question should not be, how do I become a closer? The first question should be, is there room for me to grow into a closer here? You need to understand. Does your current offer promote setters into closers? Is there a defined progression path, or are closers only hired externally? If there is no path, you need to know that early, not after months and months of effort. Clarity saves time. This is one of the questions I always ask the girls I work with to ask in interview. It's not because they're trying to rush building their skill. They just are ambitious. They want to know early on, what's the deal here? Am I only going to be a setter, or am I going to be a setter that can promote into closer? The easiest way to get promoted into a closing role is internally. So we want to know that so we can make our lives easier, not harder. Step 2. Have the conversation with your manager. This is a critical step that most people avoid, and it can cost you months. Schedule a direct conversation and ask if there is a closer role available in the future, what performance standards is required for that promotion, and what does the timeline look like realistically to transition. This conversation does two things. One, it gives you clarity. It positions you as someone thinking long term. And if you and your manager are not aligned, you need to know that now. Because if you haven't asked this question in the interview, totally fine. It's not the end of the world. You just need to have clarity early on. Now, what I would say, and what my step 3 is about to be, do not try and have that conversation if you're bottom of the leaderboard, giving half effort and just not doing very well overall. Your manager will not take you seriously. If you are not good at what you do, then you're not in a position where you can be asking for promotion. And I think that is another thing that people really forget about, because people can be lazy. They want all the success and all the financial freedom, but without the work ethic. Which brings me on to step 3, become an elite setter first. This is a non-negotiable. This is the step that people try and skip, as I just said, and it's the biggest mistake you can make. Before you even think about closing, you should be top 3 on the setting leaderboard. You should be consistent. You should be collecting the highest cash collected. You should be reliable. This is so important. A strong setter understands buyer psychology. They handle objections well, and they build urgency well. They set high quality appointments as well. A weak setter becomes a weak closer. And it's super funny because I've heard people say, I don't like setting, I'm not very good at it, but I know I'm going to be so good at closing. It's just not true. You don't have to love setting. I didn't love setting, don't get me wrong, but I became good at it because I know it's what I needed to do to become good at what I ultimately wanted. If you can't master the interest and commitment on the front end, then you're going to struggle with decisions and objections on the back end. And that is the truth of it, really. This step matters so much more than people think, because being a strong setter builds confidence through evidence. It builds trust with your management team, and it builds your internal reputation. And trust me, this is how opportunities are given. You've probably heard me tell this story a couple times, but when I was a setter, I was top performer for 3 months, and the management came to me and said, okay, we want to promote you into closing. And I literally said, you shouldn't do that. I am not ready, because I was scared to death. But because I built consistent reputation with my work, they pushed me out of my comfort zone. They got me to do a role that I wasn't ready for. Thank goodness they did, which ultimately excelled my career forward. So I wasn't even thinking about that progression within 3 months. I was just wanting to do my job to the best of the abilities. And I really do think that's important. Try not to think about the money will come. And I didn't. I had enough to pay my bills. I was making about 4K a month. My bills were like 2K. I was very ambitious, of course, but my bills were covered. I just wanted to get excellent at my craft. And that is what helped me move effortlessly into closing in such a small amount of time. Step 4, stack consistency before you want to promote upwards. You do not need to move into a closer after one good week of appointment setting. You want months of top performance. You want trust in yourself and predictable output. You want to hone emotional stability under pressure, because at the end of the day, consistency proves to yourself and management you're not relying on luck, and you can handle yourself and your emotions under pressure, and that you can be trusted with responsibility. This is when you move forward, and this is when you get given opportunities. So, what does a realistic time look like? For me personally, it took me 3 months to make the transition. I was still setting while I was learning to close. I closed part-time at first, and I was setting on the side. I transitioned around 1 month after I was doing part-time closing. That is normal. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Transitions are very rarely instant, and that's a good thing, because otherwise you're just getting thrown into the deep end with no support. If you can gradually, not too slowly, but if you can gradually transition, that's perfect. Step 5. You want to create a low risk closing opportunity for your management. Before applying externally, you want to ask the team, can you start setting and closing your own lead? Self-sets. Why this works. Minimal risk for the company and the current closers working there, and real experience for you, plus confidence and proof in your ability. If you're able to do this, this is the best possible path. Myself set to close my own leads, and pretty much nearly all of the girls who have transitioned from setting to closing in my program naturally just went down that path of setting to closing their own leads. And it is the best way and the fastest way to prove your value and to prove your skill set. Because sometimes you'll be undervalued, and that's okay. You still have to believe in yourself wholeheartedly, no matter what. And step 6, if there's no internal path, you have to pivot strategically. If there is no closer role, if there is no timeline, if there is no internal opportunity, then you pivot. Because at this point, there's no point wasting any more time. So we just need to go after what we want. So we need to rework our resume, rework our applications, and position yourself as a top performing setter who is in active closing training, ready for more responsibility. And this moves me on to step 7, which is applying with volume. Track your responses, track your numbers. This is a numbers game, but it has to be a strategic one. It is super important that we're very intentional, that if we're going to pivot, we need to pivot properly. Look, this path is not fast because it's rushed. It's fast because it's strategic. When you build a foundation properly, the transition becomes inevitable. You become the obvious choice to your management team. You become the obvious choice on an interview. And that is what we ultimately need to do. That is our duty, right? That makes sense for us. If you want to become the best at what you do, if you want to be making 10K plus month, then you need to think long term, not just the quickest way to make money. See you in the next one.